Hi guys, welcome to another Mindset Thursdays with me, Miriam Rose. Today we're going to talk about yet another of the ways that we self-sabotage. It's called the hypervigilant saboteur. From the name, hypervigilant, a vigilant person is one who's always cautious of danger. But when it's taken too far, it becomes the hypervigilant saboteur. Such a person is continuously intense, full of anxiety about all the dangers and what could possibly go wrong. We have seen so far that saboteurs emanate from our strengths, overused, misused, and abused. Too much of anything is poisonous. So when we overly rely on our strengths, they become the very things that sabotage us. So for people with the hypervigilant saboteur, these are their strengths. They are vigilant, which is a good thing. They are sensitive and aware of true risks and dangers to self, others, and institutions. They are guardians of families, communities, and institutions. They are very loyal, reliable, dependable, and hardworking. They are highly capable of perseverance and consistent work towards objectives. They are also capable of instituting and preserving systems and structures in order to impose order and stability. What are the characteristics? How can you know whether you have the hypervigilant saboteur? Well, other than taking the assessment in the link in the description, these are the characteristics. A person with a strong hypervigilant saboteur is always anxious with chronic doubts about self and others. They have extraordinary sensitivity to danger signals. They have a constant expectations of danger or mishap. They are suspicious of what others are up to, and they might seek reassurance and safety and guidance in procedures, rules, authorities, and institutions. So what are the thoughts? What is usually going on in the mind of a person with a strong hypervigilant saboteur? When is the other shoe going to drop? If I make a mistake, I fear everyone is going to jump down my throat. I want to trust people, but I find myself suspicious of their motives. I need to know what the rules are, although I might not always follow them. And then what are the feelings of such a person? They're very skeptical, can be even cynical. They are often anxious and highly vigilant. Like we say, they can go overboard. Usually, saboteurs want to stay relevant, so they give us certain justification lies to keep it that way, to maintain the status quo. And this is one lie that the hypervigilant will tell a person with a strong hypervigilant saboteur to keep going down that road. Life is full of dangers. If I don't look out for them, who will? And before I even continue, imagine a situation where a parent has a strong hypervigilant saboteur. They constantly tell their kids this kind of justification lies. They keep telling them the world is full of dangers. And what happens when this kid grows up is that they can go to the extreme of becoming a risk taker, or they can be very afraid of going outside or even taking risks or even going out of the box and exploring new things. That becomes counterproductive and self-sabotaging from that end. And the impact on self and others. This is a hard way to live, for sure. Living cautious of everything that's happening is a very hard way to live. The constant anxiety burns a great deal of vital energy that could otherwise be put into great use. Towards others, one loses credibility because of crying wolf all the time. So remember, a hypervigilant person is always afraid of dangers, even if it's an illusion. So when people will start losing faith in such a person sooner rather than later. So what's the impact of childhood? So we have mentioned it in other videos, and I'll mention it again. Saboteurs are wirings in our brain. We are born with these wirings in our brain. We have a propensity towards certain self-sabotaging mechanisms, but because of neuroplasticity, we are able to change the way our brain is wired. However, when we are born, when we're in childhood, we have a balanced brain, but because of the things that happen to us, these self-sabotaging mechanisms, depending on which one you have, are fueled by certain characteristics. So for example, for the hypervigilant saboteur, it often comes from early experiences where the source of safety and security, for example, a parental figure, was unpredictable and unreliable. So what happens to such a child is that they have to hold on to a certain strength, e.g. the ones that we talked about earlier, to be able to live through an unpredictable and an unreliable source of authority. It could also result when painful, unexpected events proved life to be threatening or unreliable. Similarly, so imagine such a child is just going to rely on their greatest strengths, but what happens is that when they grow up and they're continuously relying on this strength without adjusting, it starts becoming a self-sabotaging mechanism. So to learn more about this and the other self-sabotaging habits and patterns, stay tuned. And if you'd love to have a coaching session with me, please feel free to reach out. I am more than happy to help. Thank you for watching and goodbye.